Okay, there you go. I'm gonna mute
Anyway,
myself.
if you can't see, it's that all of that highlighted stuff. So what makes this hard? There are tenths and there are ricochets and there's a lot of double stops and it's generally very unpleasant to practice. So yeah, basically what you basically it takes everything that's supposed to be fun about the violin and puts it all in one. So
Okay, great. Is there a specific reason do you think you struggle with this passage in particular? Because you can have tense and you can play them totally fine, but is it something about specifically like the tense embedded in this specific sequence? Is it the sequence of tense, or in this context, what makes it difficult in this context?
well, I mean, it's hard to put everything together. You have to play tenths, then you have to play thirds, then you have to play ricochets, then more tenths, more thirds, more ricochets. You get the gist.
Uh-huh. So is it the switch from, like the thirds to the tense, the immediate switch that's difficult? Or once you get the tense, is it hard to play the sequence of tense in tune? So what is like digging a little deeper? Is it the switching up of the technical elements from like thirds to tense and then tense to ricochet? What do you think? So something for you to think about too, yeah. If you're not quite sure, yeah.
It's hard to be consistent with each of these individually. So
Okay, so individually is already hard to begin with, and then combining them into a sequence is more difficult.
yeah.
Okay, great. And so how do you practice it? Or how do you practice it?
So there are this passage is that has it likes to put these in groups of three. So I isolated every single one of them for intonation.
Uh-huh. Can you
So
show us what you mean by that?
okay, I'll take the first ten. So basically that, and then
Uh-huh.
different variations. Play like an 11, which I can't. Stretch out. Basic, and then you can also do nines, and there's also one where and then so you can and then you can also you find the middle tenth and then you stretch back and you stretch back and you also stretch out and I do that for like 5 minutes for each tenth each group.
Okay, great. So, what you're basically doing is you're going above and beyond, stretching even farther than the tens, and then you're also kind of coming back and doing some nines too to practice this, along with some other variations. Yeah. Okay.
That's for the tenths.
Okay, that's for the tens.
I mean, yeah, I mean the thirds and the sixths you just slur slur it. You can also do for the longer ones. You can also play like very bowing variation, something like that. So yeah, practicing for finger dexterity and then ricochets. Ricochets are ricochets. They just do as they come. Although I do practice. Okay. I do practice open strings, and I just add notes at a time.
Can you show us how that what that looks like?
Okay.
So how many notes are in this ricochet?
And
There's 10, yeah. And most pieces don't have ricochets of 10 notes, right? You may have like two or three in orchestral settings at most. So What are the challenges with this ricochet in particular? Of course, there's 10 of them. That's a lot.
Keeping the bow going.
Uh huh. And then also the string crossings within the ricochets, right? Because just to do a ricochet in one string is one thing, but you have to cross how many strings here? Yeah, two, sometimes three, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So sometimes three. Okay. So can you show us just briefly how the practicing, or how you practice this?
Okay. So just keep going until I get to the end. Yeah, that's it. You're muted. I can't hear you.
I'm just repeating myself as I'm writing. Okay, great. And then can you show us the demonstration, the complete demonstration? Great. Excellent. Thank you. Anybody have any questions about anything that we just talked about? Hopefully, this all makes sense. Great. Okay. Next is Albert. Albert? Wait, did I thought Albert was here? Ah, Albert may be having some internet difficulties. Let's skip to Amy for now. Amy? Is Amy not here too?
I'm here.
Okay, there you are. Where are you?
Okay, so I'm working on
Oh, wait, one.
uh, a
Where?
section in the middle of the piece where there's like um, the first part of it is an arpeggio section, and this part's hard because um, there's three different arpeggios, and basically every one of them is different. You have to keep track of like what all the shifts are, and um, I can practice it by like other than just going slow to fast, like identifying where the shifts are and practicing those individually.
Can you give
Uh,
us a brief glimpse of the music if you can?
um,
Or no, you don't have the music?
I mean, I think here I have a link. I just sent it. I don't know if it works.
Look how prepared she is. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Uh,
was going to ask everybody to do that, but thank.
okay. I just sent a link, and this section's around measure 156. Um, and then the next part of it, there's a bunch of chords, and I have to keep track of like since the chord goes across all four strings, I have to keep track of like what the intervals are between each string. So like for example, this first chord, it's all open intervals between each string, and then the second one is the same. So and yeah, it just goes on like that. And then the last part of it is it's also a bunch of chords, and um, they're basically the same chords, but you have to go down and you have to cross all the strings at once. So what's hard about that is like hitting all the notes and Yeah, just making sure all the intervals are correct.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the intervals that you're talking about? So, like, show us, for example, from more specifically, like, pick a chord and tell us exactly how you're thinking about the intervals. Like,
Mm,
pick a quadruple stop, like any quadruple stop.
okay.
Uh huh.
So yeah, this first chord, um,
Good. Yeah, yeah. So the one on the one to the two is what kind of an interval there?
um, major sixth.
Okay, and then two to the three.
For this one, they're all major six, so
Major
they're
six. Okay, good, very good. So that's what Amy means by thinking about the intervals between the individual or the pairs of the intervals that make up the quadruple stop. Right? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. So knowing that specifically, like you're saying, like that's a major six, open six, right? Close six, so that you know exactly how the handshake should be, right? Going from the reference note here and then building up from there, right? Rather than just like putting the fingers down and thinking like, oh, I hope this is in tune, right? Because that's not very good. Okay, great. Anything else did you want to add to that?
um, yeah. So for the last chords section, I also have to practice the string crossings and make sure that you actually hear all the notes that are in the chord so that your left hand isn't just doing all of that for nothing. So um, yeah, just making sure each of the notes are being heard. And just practicing that like that, and you can get faster as you go along.
Great. Okay. Would you like to play through this whole thing? Okay. Great. Good for you. Sounds great. Okay. Thank you. And next, Albert, are you here?
Uh,
Yes, Albert. We can hear you now. Okay. Okay. Take it away, Albert.
well, I wasn't in the last studio class, but
Oh, that's
I,
true. So are you gonna play through the piece?
I could.
What was our last? What did we decide to do before I went on break?
I don't
Were you gonna
remember.
play the third and the fourth pages, second and third? I forget what we decided.
Third, and I don't know.
Okay, so what are you gonna do?
Um, I'll just play through the first four, I guess,
Okay, all right.
or try to.
All right, good work, Albert. Yeah, very good, very good. Okay, good. All right, and next is we did Amy, Audrey.
Hi. So, basically, the part where I'm struggling with has is like pretty fast, and it's like um a bunch of double stops, and I had to shift really high to try and reach octaves. And the part I'm struggling with is like that shift. And so, the way I practice it is I try and go back and forth between the part where I shift from the bottom, the first chord to the second one, or the first double stop to the second one. Like, and then I go from here. And I like try and go back and forth, and I practice that jump.
Okay, good. Audrey, can you stand in a way we can see your left hand? Okay,
Like,
thank you, thank you, thank you. Good. So that section was where again?
it is. Should I show the music?
Yeah, that would be nice. This is at the end of the variations of the Chaconne here, right?
It's like
Um,
the second to last page, and basically it looks like this.
right. Okay. Yeah, and this pace, not this pace. This page is notoriously difficult for the jumps and the huge intervallic jumps between the double stops, da, 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 and then you got to jump all the way to da da dum, ba da 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 dum, ba da dum, ba da 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 dum, ba da dum, right? So practicing that shift, that big shift, is a very difficult thing for this one. So how did you practice it again, Audrey?
So I started from the first note, and I tried to find the first finger of the octave first before placing down my fourth finger, kind of like a bass to reach for, and I went like that, like over and over again.
Okay, good. Is this the only section here that you're going to talk about?
Um, I have other sections too, but I just felt this one was like the most challenging one.
Sure,
Or one.
excellent. You wanted to focus on this section. Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Okay, great. So practice.
Oh, I can't hear anything.
Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Uh,
Good. Sorry, Audrey. I was writing something. Okay, excellent. Do you want to try that again? Okay, so that's good. So practicing the interval, right? The shifts in the interval is good. Now, also perhaps practicing the double stop itself, right? Which is the octaves up there, might also be a useful thing for you, right? And now, tell me, how does the octave up there? So play me the B flat octave, da, all the way up there. Uh huh. Okay, good, 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 good. And then tune that a little bit more. The B flat octave there. Uh huh. Okay, good. Now stay, and then go from there to the A, half step down, and then to the G.
Wait,
Uh
where?
huh.
Oh, it's
So the next octave down. Uh huh. And then the next octave. Okay, yeah. And I think practicing this in its succession like this would also be very helpful. Okay? Because you're getting these big jumps now, but the octaves themselves are slightly out of tune, right? And what's one thing that we have to notice about these octave the sequence of the octaves up there? What happens to the shape of the hand or the
um,
frame of the hand?
it's like in the same position relatively.
Yes, but as we go down, should the hand shape get larger or smaller?
Larger.
Larger. That's right. Okay, because there's less tension as you go down. Okay, so that's I think something that you could also practice. Do you want to try again?
All right.
Okay. Yeah, that's already a lot better. Good. Okay, thank you. Next is Ingi.
I'm once again forced to be upstairs. I don't know if the microphone works. Probably
Oh,
does. Looks like it
okay.
does.
Yeah, actually, it sounds good.
Okay. So basically, the section that I had to work on is this like scale run thing. It's like this one, and so on. I can't really show it very well. I can't find the image either. But
Oh yeah, yeah. I think we get it.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I'm bad at it because my finger dexterity is really bad, and also the way that I like started practicing it, I kind of broke it up into the, the like by slur groups or whatever. But then there was like a huge break between a lot of them, so it's like like there's a stop between each, and then I wanted to get rid of that. I don't know how much of the problem I need to talk about, or
Okay. Um. Okay. Good. So yeah, can you demonstrate for us like this problem that you were having?
it's like
So more like step by step, like yeah.
there's this. It's not a huge difference. I mean, it depends on which section it is, but sometimes there's a really long gap. Like lots of those usually have a very large gap. It's hard to exaggerate, but
Mhm.
it arises naturally when I'm playing that.
Okay. Yeah. So you're having difficulty playing the scale straight through without stopping in between the groups.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I see. Okay, so then how did you practice this to fix that problem?
I mean, I guess mostly standard stuff. Uh, just like so, what I was doing before was more like adding one note from the next group to kind of try and tie them together. But it works a lot better if you just like I guess try to slur everything or like put much larger groups than is actually there. Like if you put two into one, then it's a lot easier to break it in half, and then you can do three of them or whatever, I guess. And then also, of course, you can like change the bowing rhythm or so. Like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of this stuff has been mentioned already.
Absolutely, but you know the art of teaching is repeating, 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 and
Yeah.
saying again, saying again. So I think it'll help for everybody to listen to it again and you know just like oh yeah, that's right, changing of the patterns and changing of the rhythms. Okay, very good. So you have this section here. Did you have the other scale section that you wanted to do,
Oh,
or just
sure. I
this one?
mean, I
It
don't
applies
know.
to both, right? Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, it applies to both. Hmm.
Ah! I could probably still use a little work. I
Uh
need
huh.
my audio break.
Oh no no no! We can hear you.
Oh, okay. No, it stopped showing the green, so I was a
Oh
little.
oh I see I see I see.
Keeps breaking.
Yeah. Okay, great. Would you like to try it or playing through?
Sure.
Okay, unless you had more things to talk about.
No, I mean, I guess I can try and play through.
Okay, great.
Uh, no. Okay.
Yeah, that's already a lot better than the last time I heard it. Great. Did you want to try the second one, or you want to work on that a little bit more?
I don't want to like eat lunch. I haven't eaten yet.
Oh,
Like,
okay, sure. Okay, no problem. All right. Thank you, Ingi. Good work. And next is singing.
Sorry. So I have trouble with the 16th, like here.
This is a Lalo.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
a
Okay,
Lalo.
Lalo. Uh huh.
Um, so when I play here, I feel like my left hand and my bow can't match together, and also I feel when I play faster, I can't play as fast as I can. So that's my problem.
Can you show us what that looks like? That problem looks like?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I practice like this. Um, did you see that? It's kind of like I
So
want
the
them to
coordination, yeah, it's not in sync. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
so
Good. And how did you practice it?
I practice like from like slow and too fast, but it's like a little by little, but it's still not working. So I asked James. So I he suggested me like using more because I'm focusing on my wrist, but when you using more your forearm and your wrist together, it's getting much better.
Okay, I'm glad that worked.
And the sound changed a lot because if I practice like this, it's like this. But if using more the whole forearm and it's on the string, so it sounds like this. It's like this. The sound becomes more deep and firm and like more big sound. And I feel it's more like coordination, much more better with this.
That sounds really good.
So that's my
Great.
vegetable.
Yeah. Would you like to play through?
This part, right?
Uh huh. Maybe you can start from a little bit before and get into it, or up to you. Sorry. Excellent. Great. Thank you. That's really improved. Congratulations. Great. All right. Okay, and next is Eric. Is Eric here?
Hi. You guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
All right, great. Get my violin. So I'm just supposed to pick apart, right?
Yes.
Pick this. Right here. You guys can see that.
This is from the Bruch Concerto?
Yeah. Just that my trills are out of tune and everything else is out of tune. I just have to fix my intonation issues here.
So fixing the intonation for the trills?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything.
All right. Okay. Well, is there a specific way you practice this that helped you?
Just
Just figuring out the intervals between the particular trill sets?
yeah. I guess if you want to put it that way.
Okay. Great. Anything else you want to add? No? You just want to demonstrate? Okay, go for it.
I messed that up again. Yay.
That's all right. It's good. Maybe the last two sets were a little bit out of tune, right? The D to the E flat is a half step. E to the F natural also half step. Yeah, you have to squeeze. Try once more, Eric. Good. Yeah, the trills are a lot better than before, so that's good. Great. Anything else you want to add, Eric? No? That's it? All right. Thank you very much. And next is Olivia.
So the part that I'm gonna do is actually the same as Ingi's, which is like the fast notes. And I struggle with this part because sometimes I play like the notes all like mushed together basically. And
Are we talking about
instead
the
of,
barber, Olivia?
yeah.
Okay.
And then how to practice it is I play it in separate bows, and then sometimes like practice the shifts in the middle of the run basically.
Why do you think this passage gives you trouble in particular?
I think like same as what Xinying said was that like sometimes the bow is like off from the fingering, and then like all the notes could be mushed together and stuff. So I just practice it like slower and then like gradually go faster.
Okay, so you use more of the incremental speeding up acceleration of the tempo to practice this passage. Did that help? Okay,
Yeah.
great. Can you maybe demonstrate for us the problem, and then after that, then you can, present us with the solution.
Okay, so like that part with the shift, it gets a little messy when I'm like trying to shift. So then I just play it with separate bows and then eventually try to practice it faster and faster.
Okay, great. So just this scale passage or the other one too?
Mainly this one.
Mainly this one. Why do you think this one mainly?
Because I feel like it goes higher up too, so
Uh,
that's just a little hard for me. But the
oh,
other
right.
one is, it kind of just stays in the middle area. So.
Uh-huh. I think that's a good thing to notice because you're right. This one goes a lot higher and you have long fingers, and so there's a lot of thing you have to do to, it's crowded basically. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
very good thing to observe. Okay. Do you want to play it through?
Sure.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Excellent. Okay. And then Erin with an E.
Hi. Um, so wait, okay. Basically, my section has like a bunch of double stops that are thirds, and um, it's they're hard to play because like I have to like shift from one like position to the other, and like sometimes it gets confusing or like hard to like get the right third. So yeah.
And this is Paganini, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So, kind of similar to what me talked about earlier too, which is this is very symbolic of most Paganini's or all of Paganini's with his caprices and his concerto, right? Um, there's a lot of sequential changes with the technical elements, right? That make it very difficult. Like you jump from like octave to a third to a tenth, right? And it goes back and forth. And so, playing these individual elements are hard enough, but he adds even more difficulty by changing around the technical things so rapidly. Okay, great. Did you mention how you practice this?
Um. Well, like most of the time, like it was kind of. I mean, at first I like used that method where you like play the first third and then you play like the other finger notes of the next third. But and then that kind of helped, but I feel like my problem was just like the shifting, so I mainly just worked on like getting the shift right.
Okay, great. How did you practice the shifting then?
Like um I tried like making sure I know where both fingers go. So like one time I would shift from like the previous position to the next by only using like the first finger, and then I'll do it again using the third to make sure they both know, and then just keep repeating that.
Can you show us what that looks like, Aaron?
Uh-huh. Um,
So what did you do the first time? What was the first thing? You went da da dum, and then you found the higher note, the second finger.
Yeah, like I try to,
Okay.
yeah, because I felt like I didn't know where to go if like I didn't have like the first finger right. So yeah.
Okay, okay. So kind of similar to what Audrey was doing, right, for the Vitali Chaconne, right? So shifting the big intervals, yeah. Okay, great. This is which Paganini? 19, thir
Yeah,
13,
13.
oh, 13, 13. Okay, and are you gonna play through the whole Paganini?
Uh,
It's short. I think we decided that you were gonna play through the whole thing, right?
uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Okay, go for it. All right, it's better. Good, good, good. Yeah, yeah, it's better. Okay, good. And then next is Aaron with an A.
Uh, Hello, I'm Erin, and for me, what I have trouble with a lot is in the second movement of the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto. There's a part with like where you have like descending sixths, and I just find like the intonation isn't always like that consistent for me. Like sometimes it's hard to make sure it's like in tune all the time.
So the descending six there. What makes that descending six tricky though, Aaron?
Uh, like probably the hard part is like remembering um like if like the first and second fingers have to move down a half step or a whole step, so to make it a closed or open sixth.
Okay, good. So identifying the intervals or the major or the minor, open and close of the or the type of six that you're playing, and then what's the second part of this that makes it also difficult? Because
uh
if you were just playing six as a sequence by
like
itself, I think you would have
a
no
lot of
problem.
time, yeah, a lot of times like specifically the F sharp and D sharp sixth doesn't always sound like as good as like other chords that you can play with six. Like it sounds a little dissonant, so it's hard to make sure it's in tune or not.
Very good. And how about those fourths? The constant fourths. Da 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 da. Da. Are we talking about the same passage?
Yeah, because like to judge the distance from like this your second finger, because normally it's 1.5 steps away from your first finger when you're playing the sixth. So then you have to figure out like where the second finger lies within it.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
hopefully.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Okay. Can you show us what the problem looked like for you?
Like
So give us an
specifically
example of
the
what the
last.
problem is.
It's not always like in tune. Like the G sharp and the E. Like making that in tune with the B, and the F sharp and D sharp in tune with the A. Like those two specifically, I normally have a hard time making sure they're in tune.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So six and the fourths, right? So how did you practice it?
I tried to break it up. So like from the top, I would go like. Then I would do the same with fourths. So like. Like that. And then
Last one is
like
a close fourth. Yeah. Okay. Very good. So you want to focus on this section. Okay, good. Do you want to demonstrate? Or do you want to
like
play through this section?
sure.
Yeah.
And also like sometimes like phrasing like it's kind of hard to make sure it's in tune and like kind of like diminuendo at the same time
Uh-huh.
because like whole section is supposed to be diminuendoing and it's
Good.
just kind of
Can you play from a little bit before, maybe a bigger chunk to get there? I think that might help your
okay.